Book review? Well, hello there. Welcome to the channel, Till We Have Faces. It's a book that I read and I'm now going to talk about. This video is not a book review in the sense that I have no qualifications to review anyone's writing. I have a diploma in dance, guys. I'm not qualified for this. However, I do like reading, and I did read this book, and now I'm going to talk about it. This video is a expression of my opinion and reading experience, and that is all. So make of that what you will. So this is a fiction novel by C.S. Lewis, who is one of my favorite authors. And it is a narrative retelling of a Greek mythology, Greek myth, Greek story, Greek mythological. Let me just read you the back of the book. One of Lewis's works of allegorical fiction, Till We Have Faces, is a reinterpretation of the myth of Cupid and Psyche. Psyche's great beauty incurs the wrath of the goddess Venus, who sends her son Cupid to punish her. Cupid falls in love with Psyche. In Lewis's version, the central character becomes an ugly, jealously loving sister of Psyche named Aurel, in whose words the story is told. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. Cover, yeah, it's all right. I don't love it. It's topical, I guess. Smell. I mean, it's an old book, so it smells like an old book, which is nice. Spine sturdiness. Well, the spine is very cracked and broken, and I actually had a page fall out while I was reading it, so there's that. So the book is written in two parts. The first part is significantly longer than the second, and the first part is basically written as Aurel's accusation, complaint against the gods. Basically, she's accusing them of being cruel and unjust and fair because of the way she treats her and the way she treats her sister Psyche. And then the second part, I'll get into that in a minute. So the narrative follows Aurel's life from early childhood to her death at the end of the book, and she's kind of chronicling and detailing her life and the involvement she had with her sister. And the whole book kind of feels, at least the first half, kind of feels almost like a villain origin story. Like Aurel starts out as this very loving sister who turns into a very selfish and jealously loving sister towards Psyche, basically ruins her life because she thinks that's what's good for her. I was supposed to have that light pointing towards me. There we go. I've fixed that now. That's nice. And she very quickly realizes that she has destroyed the happiness of her sister and has destroyed her life, basically. And she's so upset by that that the only way she can cope with it is to force all of her life force into work and becoming the queen of the nation that she lives in. And so the rest of her life is kind of lived out being this ruling queen of her nation to kind of get away from the torment that's going on within her because of what she did to her sister. So experientially wise, there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of inner monologue of the main character. It is written in first person by Aurel's perspective. Normally I don't love first person, but I barely even noticed it in this book, which is just testament to Lewis's writing, which, by the way, Lewis's writing is incredible. Just all of the time. It's always incredible. I am yet to read any book by him that was not written masterfully. Having said that, Lewis is very intelligent, which means he uses lots of big words, sometimes big words that I don't understand. So if big words frighten you, maybe give this one a miss, but to be honest, if you don't understand 100% of the words he uses, is it really the end of the world? I don't think so. You'll still enjoy the book. I found the reading experience to be fairly intense when it came to the emotional trauma that the main character goes through. And apart from the last couple of chapters, the whole book kind of has this very heavy, hopeless overtone to it, which can be a bit exhausting. So do prepare yourself if you're going to read this. However, stick with it until the end, because the last two chapters completely flip the narrative onto itself, and the book resolves in a very hopeful, profound place, but it only gets there in the last two chapters. However, don't be tempted to skip to the end, because I don't think the last two chapters would have the same impact if you didn't read all of what came before, because the whole point of the book is the suffering the main character goes through is what makes the ending significant. So yeah, if you do read it, just stick with it and make sure you read it the whole way through. Yes. Without spoiling too much, like I said, the first 22 chapters of the book is her accusation of the gods and accusing them of being unjust and cruel. And without spoiling too much, the ending of the book is kind of her gaining a new perspective and seeing the events of her life in a different way, kind of seeing some of the flaws in her previous worldview about her life. It's very good. It's, as I said before, the main character is female, and there's, discussions between female characters, which is wonderful. They're not hugely abundant, but there's definitely a few in there. A main theme, I would say, especially for like the second half of the book, is very much centered around Auril being a woman in a man's world in the historical context of like the ancient Greece period. The book isn't set in Greece though, but it's around that part in history. And so she kind of pushes and becomes this powerful queen and does all this stuff that no woman has ever done, which I think is awesome to read about. And it doesn't come across as forced. It feels really natural and really profound, and also kind of tragic in a way, because you as the reader know that she is achieving all of these incredible things because of the trauma that she's gone through as a way to deal with that. So I found that quite compelling. So I loved this. I would definitely recommend it. Lewis's writing never fails to make me think, which I think is wonderful. I did find it very heavy and kind of in this hopeless, oppressive place for most of the book. But like I said, if you do read it, please do stick with it because the ending is... Now, last year I read Lewis's sci-fi trilogy, and I think if I was to compare the two, I would say they're both very well written. They're both very profound. The sci-fi trilogy is longer, so obviously he fits a lot more ideas into these books. And I loved these books. Like, these are my favorite books that I've ever read, and I would read them again in a heartbeat because I just loved every single page of them. And in comparison, I can't really see myself rereading this book anytime soon. And I think that's just because I don't particularly want to suffer through everything that the main character suffers through again. And despite the fact that it does end in a very profound and hopeful way, I feel like I've kind of had that experience and I can't really see myself diving back into that anytime soon just because it was a lot. But that's nothing against the book. I think, in fact, that's a plus towards it because it achieves its aim. But yeah, I definitely think I preferred the sci-fi trilogy more. In conclusion, big yes. Recommended audience, I would say, is probably 16 or 18 and up. Partially for the mature content, but mostly just for the complexity of the writing. I definitely got lost at a couple of points, but again, I don't think that's the end of the world. If you don't completely comprehend everything that's going on, I don't think that's a problem. Also, just a warning, this book does contain themes of abuse and torture and suicide and self-harm, so please do use your discretion. I think that about wraps it up. I'm trying this new format of book review situation, so let me know how I did with that down in the comments. And also thank you to people on Instagram for recommending categories of things I should discuss about the books. If you haven't heard, I'm involved in a podcast. It's called Dark Tides. It's on Apple and Google and Spotify. It's a good time. Maybe you could check it out. I've kind of run out of things to say, so I guess that means the video is over. Thank you for watching. Listen to our podcast. Goodbye. I'm gonna go read another book now.